And welcome back to For the Record, everybody. I'm Jesse Weber, and thanks for joining us as we are live right now outside of the Fairfax County Courthouse in Fairfax County, Virginia, as we are currently in a lunch break in the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard defamation trial. Now, I want to welcome, of course, all of our network viewers, but if you're watching us on YouTube right now, I want to let you know, do not worry. We will jump back live in that courtroom as soon as the feed comes back live. They'll be back in about a half hour or so. We don't want you to miss any moment of the trial. But for our YouTube fans, our YouTube watchers, and anybody who's listening on the network and wants this as well, go on our YouTube page. If you have a question, pin it in our channel, and we will answer your questions here on the air for the next half hour or so. So, as we continue to answer your questions, we also want to go through some of the testimony that you might have missed, and that includes the testimony of Erin Filati, also known as, she has been referred to in this case as Erin Borum. This was Amber Heard's nurse, somebody that we had heard about during the course of this trial, so we were waiting for her testimony. And here's when she talks about, she was being questioned by Depp's attorney, and she recalled that the notes that she received from Heard about her relationship with Depp, it gave a lot of insight into what was happening. Take a look.
Okay, so moving on to the next sentence here, it says she reports a familial history of substance abuse. Both mother and father have abused and become dependent on stimulants, methamphetamine, opiates, and alcohol. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
And the she here, it refers to Ms. Heard?
That's correct.
Okay. So this is also something that Ms. Heard reported to you as far as your notes reflect?
Again, I don't have specific recollection of this. It appears that she did report that, but I don't remember.
So a couple sentences later here, it says, client admits to a history of anxiety, eating disorder, attention deficit disorder, bipolar disorder, codependence issues, and occasional insomnia. Do you see that sentence?
Yes.
And based off of this note, and specifically the language that says client admits, you believe that this is something that Ms. Heard would have reported to you?
As you stated, because it says client admits, I would make that assumption.
The next sentence says, client expressed concern to husband and Dr. Kipper that she's nervous about being alone while husband is working on movie set in London, and expressed she has difficulty dealing with feelings of insecurity and jealousy when not in the presence of her husband. Did I read that right?
Yes.
Do you recall learning this during your initial meeting with Ms. Heard?
I don't recall learning this during the initial meeting, but again, when I initially met Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, it was fairly brief because then after that we traveled to London. So I don't recall if I learned of this instantaneously or if that was gathered, throughout the next day or two, spending time with her.
Is this description of Ms. Heard having feelings of insecurity and jealousy when not in the presence of Mr. Depp, is that consistent with your recollection when you were treating Ms. Heard?
I wouldn't say all the time that was an issue. I have a vague sense of those issues popping up throughout the years, but I wouldn't say that that was a constant theme.
But you do have recollections of that being an issue at some time while you were treating her?
I would say that's a fair statement.
And specifically the first sentence, it says client RN and Debbie RN went to dinner together. You see that?
I do.
And Debbie RN is Debbie Lloyd, is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm going down a couple sentences here. It says, client verbalizes feelings of confusion as she feels fiance would like her to decrease / eliminate acting career and stay home. Do you see that? Do you remember having this specific conversation with Ms. Heard?
I don't remember specifically, but I do have a general recollection. No, I don't recall specifics.
Did you ever have any discussions with Mr. Depp concerning Ms. Heard's acting career?
I have a sort of vague general memory of discussing that before. As to specific details, I don't think I can provide you with specifics, but it sounds familiar.
Did you ever have the impression that Mr. Depp wanted Ms. Heard to stop her or end her acting career?
I don't recall that being a sentiment.
All right, so let's break this down. Join me once again, law and crime legal analyst Dina Doll. We're also joined by the Law and Crime Network's legal correspondent Angenette Levy. And of course, Linda Kenney Baden is back with us. And again, we're going to be taking your questions on YouTube. So throw them in there. We'll answer them on air. And listen, so Angenette, I'll start with you. Mental health of Amber Heard is a central issue in this case. We're kind of hearing it a little bit from Erin Filati. We believe that maybe one of the first witnesses called by Amber Heard's side is a psychologist. When you hear this testimony from this nurse, how do you think it fits into the overall case?
Well, I think we're hearing that she does use substances. She's had a history of substance abuse issues. She's admitted to having an addiction to cocaine and to liquor. She's admitted to being dependent on alcohol. So that fits with at least Johnny Depp's claims that she was the alcoholic in this relationship. And when she drank and used substances, she sometimes became abusive. She was also talking about these feelings of insecurity and things like that. And I think what's interesting here is that Amber Heard's team has tried to say that Johnny Depp wanted Amber Heard to stay home and quit acting. And while Erin Filati, you heard that testimony, she was the nurse for Amber Heard. She said she did recall discussing Amber Heard's career with Johnny Depp, and there was a discussion, but she didn't recall the sentiment being that he wanted her to quit her career altogether and stay home. So I think that's interesting because I think that they are going to say, and you're going to hear the psychologist and Amber Heard testify that Johnny Depp was very controlling, very jealous, and he wanted her to just stay put and do what he said. So I think that's maybe how it plays into it, along with the substance abuse issues and her codependency issues. She's admitting to some pretty serious mental health issues.
Yeah, it's a very much he said, she said throughout this whole case. Dina, we have a question from Tanya Hodges kind of about this. Will the ratio of the jury make a difference here? Men often side with the woman, so we do have a predominantly male jury. What do you make of that?
Well, it's a great question, and she's right that usually male judge other men more harshly on juries, and women judge women more harshly. So that's what we found, with jury consultants on our cases. So it is true that the predominantly male makeup of the jury might judge Johnny Depp more harshly. They will put themselves in those shoes and say, would I have done X? Would I have done Y? So that I think that the viewer is right to that extent.
Yeah, these are great questions. Keep them coming here on YouTube. I want to continue answering them here on air, but just to stick with Erin Filati for a second, she was questioned by Heard's attorney about how Depp was blindsided when Amber Heard wanted a divorce. Take a look.
Notes for June 7th, 2016, correct?
That is correct.
You wrote, the following medications were approved per Dr. Kipper to be given to the client, and then there's a list of medications. You wrote these notes, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And did you understand that Mr. Depp was taking those medications as of June 7th, 2016?
For this nursing note, it appears that he was taking these medications listed.
And then there's a nursing note for June 26, 2016. You see that?
Yes.
And it says you wrote, client is going through divorce with wife Amber H. and is dealing with the loss of his mother, passed away 1 month ago. Client was provided with the divorce request from wife AH 3 days after mother passed away. Do you see that?
Yes.
And you wrote that?
Yes.
So was it your understanding that Amber asked for a divorce?
This note says that Mr. Depp was provided with divorce request from Ms. Heard, so it appears she was the one requesting a divorce.
Right, and you wrote, next, client states he was not aware AH wanted divorce and expresses confusion regarding AH's desire to terminate marriage. You wrote that?
Yes.
Is that what Mr. Depp told you?
I would assume if I wrote it in my notes.
Then you wrote, client's divorce has been highly publicized and wife AH has been accused him of several character damaging allegations, including domestic violence. You wrote that, correct?
Correct.
Was this on did you write this based on information Mr. Depp provided you?
I don't know. I would assume that I've had discussions with him regarding this, considering that this is a nursing note for Mr. Depp.
Did Mr. Depp tell you his character had been damaged as of June 2016?
I don't recall. I have to go by what my note says here. So it alludes to that's something that he had discussed.
And you see where you wrote, client states he felt helpless previously but is now angry at AH and wants to clear his name. Mr. Depp told you that?
Again, I don't recall for sure, but I would go back to my nursing notes because those were written more at the time. So I would assume that he and I discussed that.
Okay, farther down, you wrote, RN assisted client in processing feelings and encouraged client to continue utilizing individual therapy as he responded well to RN's use of therapeutic communication. You see that?
Yes.
And you wrote that, correct?
Yes.
Then you wrote, client is resistant, stating, quote, I don't want anyone like Amber's wife therapist. He has only made things worse, end quote. You see that?
Yes.
And you wrote that?
Yes.
And where it's quotes, I don't want anyone like Amber's therapist. He's only made things worse. That was something that Mr. Depp told you?
Again, as I have it in quotations, I assume he made that statement.
Again, definitely helps Amber Heard's narrative that she was trying to get away from Johnny Depp, you know, that he was the aggressor, he was the abuser in this. So let's go back to your YouTube questions. Again, go to our YouTube channel, pin them, we'll answer them here. And as soon as we have a live feed back into court, we'll jump there. Okay, so Linda, we have a question from Zowie. And Zowie asks, should Depp's team have gone for a different charge than defamation over just the op-ed? I feel like it's giving the defense too much room to work with as far as being super specific with the terms of just that.
Well, that is interesting, Zowie, in the sense that it's very hard to sue for something that's contained in a report in a publication. Defamation is kind of it. So they took the high road, which is to prove clear and convincing evidence that this was not true, that Amber Heard knew it was not true, and that she published it recklessly, and that's with malice, it's called in the law. They believe they have enough of a case to get to a jury, and obviously they do, but I don't think that this case was really about necessarily getting damages. It was about showing the world Johnny Depp and opening up to the world a side of Amber Heard none of us realized existed. And has Johnny Depp achieved his goals there? I think a lot of people say yes.
And yeah, you know, we talk about a cause of action in a civil case, and sometimes, you know, when you're wronged, you have to, you're wronged, you feel something happened to you, how do you fit it into the law? How do you fit it into a cause of action? Publication of this article, defamation seems to be the way that you have to do it. So I go to you now, Angenette. We have a question from Bajit Olson. And Bajit says, did Amber fire her PR team because of bad publications from the press? If so, did she violate the judge's ruling of not following the media of this trial?
Okay, Bajit, I'm so glad that you asked that question because a lot of people have been asking me that question on Twitter. And so it's pretty simple. Yes, Amber Heard did fire her PR team because she didn't like the positive publicity that Johnny Depp was getting out of this trial. And she feels like she has taken a lot of hits in the press and isn't getting the positive press that she should be getting. Now, a lot of people have asked me about this since the witnesses and the jury are all told you can't watch any media accounts, you can't do outside research. That doesn't apply to parties in a case. Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, of course, are in the courtroom each day. They are the parties. They are not witnesses who could be influenced by other testimony. Of course, they could be influenced and change their stories based on other testimony, but they both have the right to be in there, and they are not precluded from watching media accounts of the trial.
Great question from Bajit and great answer from Angenette. We're going to take a very quick break. We'll get to more of your questions on YouTube. We'll be right back right after this here on Law and Crime.